Cathlene Miner, you're an author, a speaker, and you're the founder and president of Helping Handbags USA. Lots to talk about on the show today. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
And it's your second visit, isn't it?
It is. So I'm super excited to be back. We're going to talk about a few different things today than we did the first time.
Excellent. So I must start off with your super new book. So this arrived in the post yesterday, and this is your 30-day self-perception makeover, a 30-day guide to amazing shifts in your life. So self-perception, what is self-perception and how does it differ to self-care?
Okay, so self-perception is what you think and feel about yourself, not what anybody else thinks and feels about you, but what actually truly your intuitive self, you inside, thinks of you. And then self-care is the things that you do for yourself, which is crucial as well for health and well-being. But those would be more things like massages or hanging out with your friends or taking a bubble bath, things that you do to spend time on yourself. That is self-care. And then self-perception is more internal. It's what you think and feel about you.
Okay, so thinking and feeling versus doing.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so your book is on the thinking and feeling bit, then the self-perception makeover. So what prompted you, Cathlene, to write the book in the first place?
Well, for my own self-discovery, years ago, I did have an eating disorder and I was sick. I talked about some of this last time when I was here about when I had hyperemesis, when I was pregnant, and just my ups and downs when I was younger. And I got to the point where I just didn't feel great about myself. And it wasn't really things that were going on the outside. It was more of what was going on the inside. And I knew that I needed to start taking care of myself inside. And how this came to pass is I started realizing that the things that I was getting super excited about were the things that were happening in my life. They were flowing and they were making it happen. There was like a snowball effect of all these great things that were happening, but it was the things that I was passionate and getting excited about. But I still didn't feel great about myself. I was still doubting myself sometimes, or I would look at other people and think, well, why can't I be like that? And I was still doing some more comparing. So then I realized that I am just not passionate about myself. I'm not passionate about me and what I think about me. When I look in the mirror, I'm looking at the things that were, I thought, wrong, and not what was right. And in those other situations, for the things that were flowing correctly and the things I loved in my life, those things were flowing because I was looking at them and getting excited about them. So I started to work on the way I felt about me. And I worked at the Mayo Clinic for about 10 years, which is a academic medical facility here in the US. And I was a supervisor there. And I'm telling you this because I worked long days. And I would work 7 to 6 because I was a single mom at the time and I needed extra money, and I could get extra money by working a longer day. But then I would go and personal train women after work. And so what I did was what I was using for myself as far as to work on my insides and my self-perception, I was passing along to my clients. So as we were working on their physical outside body and getting them into shape, we would start working on the inside of them and working on how they felt about themselves. What did they see when they look in the mirror? Because a lot of this too, I won't get too sidetracked into eating disorders, but when you have an eating disorder, what you see in the mirror is not typically what somebody else sees. We have our own image in our head of what we see of ourselves, and it's not, say, what you would see of me if you were to look at somebody during that time in their life. So what prompted me to write the book was I saw such a huge difference, not only in myself and that in the way that I was feeling about myself, and that all the things that I was getting passionate about, including me, were flowing and great opportunities were coming my way and things like that. And it was also happening with my clients. So this has been a work in progress up here for years. I mean, because I guess I've been doing this now for 26 years. So it's been a progress since then. And I decided to finally put it into words to where you could do one day at a time, all the things that we practiced within 30 days. Now, the thing is as well is that, 30 days is 30 days and you're going to feel amazing. I promise if you do it. But maybe every 6 months or so, everybody's different. When you start feeling yourself getting into that funk again because the outside world is affecting what you're thinking and seeing, it's time to redo it again. So it's not just a one and done thing, but you have the tools to get back into feeling great about you. Because if you feel great about yourself, then it radiates out to everything around you. It's like those people, that we talked, I think we mentioned this before, when you walk into the room and they don't even have to say a word, but they're confident. And it's not a ego confident. It's just, they're comfortable with themselves and they're happy to be there. And that's different than somebody who walks into the room and you feel that negative vibe from them, or they're self-conscious or have self-doubt.
Well, you mentioned ego, Kathleen. So when somebody starts on this journey of self-perception, I mean, most people would have got to a situation where they're quite low. They don't recognize the good bits in themselves. Like you say, they look in the mirror and see a fat person if they want to be thin, or if they're thin, they vice versa. So where does the ego sit in all of this? Because once you start on the journey and you start feeling good about yourself, I mean, is there a kind of a natural balancing point where your confidence doesn't kind of keep going on and on and on to the point of getting arrogant? Because that will happen for some people.
Yes, so there is a definite difference between your ego self and your intuitive self anyway. So your ego self is that person that has been evolved through the years of the things that you've gotten from the outside world. And so when we're born, kids, they fall down, they get back up, and they don't even care. They're not embarrassed. Nothing happens. They keep on going. It's easy and free. And as years go on, we get into that ego state. But when you are truly, when you have a healthy self-perception, you are running from your intuitive, meaning not running from, that is your system that you're going on. You are living by your intuitive self. So you can tell the difference between your ego self and your intuitive self. And that ego self feels uncomfortable at that point. So you tend to, if you truly have a healthy self-perception, everybody that I've seen, they don't go back to that ego self. And if they feel themselves getting there, it's very uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable feeling because it's not the natural way that our bodies are to react. And so they nip that pretty quickly. And then they realize, oh, I got to work on something.
It's all part of the self, you said, the self-development journey, isn't it? Once you start on a journey, once you realize you need to do some self-development, and then you start on the journey, it is like a seesaw to start with, and then you kind of find your own comfort zone, don't you? And even to the point of things that you read, authors that you read, or motivational speakers that you listen to, we'll all find our level, won't we?
Yes, exactly. And a lot of it is with any other kind of thing that we do in our lives. It's just knowing and being able to recognize the difference between one thing and another thing. So usually when people are at the point where they're starting on this journey where they need to work on a healthy self-perception, they're not even sure what the difference is between their ego self or their intuitive self. They just don't know. But once you have that knowledge and you know the difference between your ego and your intuitive self, that little light bulb goes off, like, oh, that's my ego self talking right there. That's not where I'm in my best flow mode. So flow mode, I like to say, meaning, when we create the life that we desire is when things are flowing and they feel really easy. When you start feeling that uneasiness, it's time to take a step back and reevaluate. Now, let me just say, though, I'm not saying that everything's always, peachy clean and roses, because it's absolutely not. This is life. There are ups and downs. We have people outside of us, our intuitive self and ego self. We have people that will affect the way that our lives go, whether they're children or significant others or friends or family. But in saying that, we also can protect ourselves to not take the negativity parts of it in, and try to look at the good parts of everything that's going on around us, because there's always a good part, right? I mean, maybe not necessarily, I mean, I have some friends, and I did an interview with her yesterday about grief, you know, who lost a child. And so, you know, that's horrific. And I'm not in saying that there's not some times when you try to find, okay, what was good about that? You know, don't know. But that person would want you to carry on and spread joy to others. And that's where that comes in. I just like to bring that up because I think, you know, when we talk about having a healthy self-perception and creating the life that you desire, just reminding everybody that it's normal to not be okay all the time, but to know the tips and tricks that you can get yourself out of that funk. And that's where I think the key comes in, and what I've seen in so many others is just knowing that you have that tool that you can get back there. It may not be that way all the time, but you can get back there. There's ways you can do it.
And that's what you cover in the book, isn't it? So
that is what I cover in the book. In the book.
Literally day by day. I'm just looking down at the book here now. I love the way that you've done it in kind of manageable chunks. So each chapter is not huge. It's something that you can do every day of the week across the 30 days. And I love the way you've splattered quotes along the way as well. This one here from Ruby D. The kind of beauty I want most is the hard to get kind that comes from within, strength, courage and dignity. And that is absolutely spot on, because as you say, what goes on the inside shines on the outside, doesn't it?
It definitely does.
And this one here from Zig Ziglar, motivation gets you going and habits get you there. And that is so important. How many people are coming up to every new year, you know, they join a gym, so they've got the motivation because they've put weight on during the year, start the new year with good intentions, and by February the gyms are all empty, aren't they?
They are, right? I know. Yes, you're right. And then I like the way of doing it day by day, because this is about journaling too. So this goes into that, which, by the way, a journal is being created right now that will be available to go along with the book. But for now, yeah, you can use any journal lined paper. I always suggest lined paper unless you're somebody that can, you know, likes no lines. But doing it day by day and doing the work in there. So it's, you know, today's inspired action. And what you do is, by the way that you're visualizing what you're doing, and then you're writing it down, you're using different parts of your brain every time you do that. So that's why it's so important to be consistent with habits, like you say, you know, good habits or anything like that, because as we repeat these things over and over again, it's no longer work. It's just something that we automatically do. You know, like every night you're going to brush your teeth before you go to bed. I mean,
way of life.
Yeah, we've been taught that for so long. So by using the different parts of your brain, then by reading it, visualizing it, and writing it down, you are retraining your subconscious mind that much faster. And this is a book that's put together that, if you know, 30 days is the best way to do it in a row. For some reason, if you have to do it one day, skip a day, and then do day 2, and skip a day and do day 3, that's okay. And the reason why we put the paint in there, the reason why, you know, we, and I say we because myself, and I'll tell you, what I did before I actually got this to go to publishing was I created a Facebook group, and I had 250 women in there. It was a secret group, and they all went through the 30 days. I would go on live every single day, and we would go through it, and then they would give me feedback as we went along. as to, okay, how are they feeling? What are they doing? Because just because I saw it work with all my clients through the years and then it worked for me, I wanted to test this again before I put it out there. The results were amazing. And even though the women who had to maybe skip a day and then, do it that way, it still was just as effective. And then at the end, I sent it out to 10 of my closest friends, because, they're all going to tell you the exact truth of what they think of it.
Yeah, if they're true friends, they will do for sure.
They will. So the 30 days, every day I sent it to them via email, what's in the book, and I had them give me feedback on it. And so the paint splash is painting a new life. So you're just, so, when you're going into graphics and designs, and when that was brought up, I thought, oh my gosh, like yes, painting a new life. That's really what you're doing, because you're finding the tools to be able to reach in. Because, when we feel good about ourselves and we are confident, it doesn't matter what anybody else says, right? I mean, if somebody says, I don't like the color of your shirt, I don't really care, because I didn't ask and I don't care, right? I mean, that's not going to change my day. But so many people allow other people to affect the way that their day flows. So if they come up and they say, that color looks horrible on you, then they're going to have a bad day for the rest of the day, because somebody just told them something that wasn't nice, So that is what this book is about, is really having a healthy self-perception so that you're confident in your own skin, because this is what we have. We were born the way we are, and loving what we were born with, and knowing that we weren't born with an ego self. We weren't. It was piled upon us through just society. And these days with social media, I'm finding that people are having a harder time with self-perception, because somebody can text them something and not even have to look at them in the face. So they can say things like the bullying, all of that kind of stuff.
Keyboard warriors.
Yeah. So, and that's another reason why I knew that now was the time. Now was the time, because self-perception needs to be something that everyone really thinks about, because it has to do with them, not the other people. And I noticed when I worked on my self-perception, and like I said, this is an ongoing thing, that it radiates out to everybody around me. So my children think about themselves differently. My family members, my friends. And I don't necessarily say you have to do this, 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 and this, but they feel, like we talk about when somebody walks into a room, they feel that confidence, that you feel good about yourself and that you want to help them, and it just sort of snowballs to everybody that's around you.
I think the only way we see that over here in the UK is when, say you've got a group of teenagers, two different groups of teenagers. You can tell those who go to private school versus those who go to general state school, because they're confident, they hold themselves, they're comfortable in their own skin, and that to me is the sort of earliest signs that we see of self-perception. When we're a teenager. When we're kids, we don't know anything about it, do we? But as we're growing into teenage years, there's the makeup, the body beautiful, and the hairstyles and the fashions and all the rest of it. And I think that's where it first starts. So do you do any? You mentioned you do public speaking. So do you go into schools and talk about this topic?
It's funny you say that, because not yet. I'm actually being approved to go into the schools here, meaning I'm on the list to, I had to give them all my credentials to be approved to go in, because they do have programs, like they have a class, and it depends on where you live as to what it's called, so it's called Hope here, and they teach about things like this. And so that is one of the things that I'm going to be doing. And then that way I would love to go travel around and get some of that, because I know for myself too. I know over here we call it elementary school, middle school, and high school. And I'm not sure what they call the middle school there, but that is when I myself started having issues with it, and what I still see today. And so that's usually around the age of 13 ish,
Yes. Yeah.
And so what also is going to be coming is I have my own 13-year-old daughter going through the 30-day self-perception makeover. And we are going to be, because she's giving me her thoughts and stuff along the way, making a version for teen girls. And then it will be teen boys. So, because I have my own people that I can work, because I have a teen boy right now too. So, but it's so important for us, I believe, as adults to have a healthy self-perception, because we're the role models for everybody out there. We're everybody's role model that we're coming in contact with. And I myself would love for my children and the children in the schools to have role models that have a healthy self-perception and feel good in their own skin, because that turns into bullying will stop, because if the bullies have the bullies are doing it because they don't have a healthy self-perception. They're not confident in themselves. They're living from that ego self. So I know I went a roundabout ways about your question, but no, so not yet in the schools, but that is on the plan.
That sounds great. And you mentioned that you've got a journal coming, but there's actually space throughout the book. You've got notes pages in there, so you can actually journal as you're going through in the book, can't you?
Yeah, you absolutely can. So we put some note pages in there. I keep saying we because I'm not a graphic designer. So it was myself and the graphic designer sitting down, the publisher, to get all that in there. But the journal, what it will have is exactly what you're to do again. So you see today's inspired action. So it will have that listed so that you can go back as well quickly and read what you did the day before, because this is building. So every day is going to take you a little bit longer to do because you're building. Remember, we're retraining the subconscious mind by repeating. So it doesn't take that long though. It would probably take you about 15 minutes once you're at the end of it.
And then by the end of 30 days, because it takes this long to form new habits, doesn't it? It doesn't matter what it is, whether you're learning to ride a bike or drive a car or healthy self-perception, whatever it is. About between 21 and 30 days, I've read often that's how long it takes. So as you say, doing something consistently every day. And that's why a lot of people can't keep up that consistency. They don't plan to do this, do they? It's like they plan to fail, really.
Yes, and that's easy to do because they're not committed. And I think when you're committed to something like this and other things, even having to do strictly with your health, if you're committed, there will be a good outcome or a better outcome, but not if you're not committed. And I wanted to just bring up too, because I know you talk a lot about cancer as well. And my aunt, one that passed away, she passed away a few years ago. She had cancer. She had breast cancer, and then it spread, and she ended up passing away. But 15 years later, they kept telling her, and she lived in the way that we talk about in this book with the healthy self-perception. She was absolutely amazing and always looked at the bright sides of everything. And I truly believe, and she did too, that's why she lived so long and enjoyed her life. I mean, the doctors would even say there's just no reason why you should be here medically, because you're just covered inside. And so this goes into so much more than just, coming into a room and lighting it up. I mean, it has to do with your health as well. It's a lifestyle.
Absolutely. Yeah, it really is. And seeing the positive side of things is so important. And as you mentioned, the cancer mentoring that I do, and those people who I mentor who are pessimistic, they will struggle to recover. Whereas those who are positive, they will get there a lot quicker. I'm not saying if you're negative you're going to die, of course not, but you're going to struggle to recover quicker. And some people who do talk themselves into death, they scare themselves, and they're so pessimistic. And some people don't believe they deserve to get better. So again, it goes back to the self-perception, isn't it? If you don't believe you're worthy, then you won't get whatever it is that you're striving for. So,
yes, it all goes together. Just like
yeah.
you said, like stuff that you help people with, it all goes together. And you see that with the health that you work with.
Brilliant. I'm going to recommend your book to the people that I mentor. So we'd be interested to see what feedback we get in due course. Okay. The last thing to touch on is the handbag charity. You're helping handbags. So just remind me about that, because it started in the UK, but you're founder and president in the USA.
Yes, so Brenda Dempsey started it in the UK. So if anybody has any bags over there, you can look up Helping Handbags online. There's a Facebook page for that. I wanted to take it over here to the US because the concept is absolutely amazing. And so what we do is we gather once loved handbags and we fill them with necessities for women that are living in the shelters, getting back on their feet again, or homeless women actually out on the street. And what they do is the ones that are in the UK, they do this as well. So they will fill the bags for the women that are on the streets with basic necessities, maxi pads, tampons, shampoo, conditioner, the very basics. And then those are handed out over there a little bit differently than here, just because of the structure of the systems that everybody has in place. But the women that are getting back on their feet again, we will put some makeup in there and, some things just to make them feel good about themselves, because those women are going out for job interviews. And most of them that are in the shelter, I say most, here at least, about 60% of them have children. And so they're living in the shelters with their children. And some of them are abuse victims as well. So they are getting back on their feet again. And by getting a once loved handbag, and these aren't handbags that you just want to bring and throw away. These are ones that, you may love, but you can get yourself another one. And so it's time to pass that one on. So they get so excited, and that little bit of hope, like we talk about even the self-perception makeover, and that little bit of hope gets them so excited, and they know that somebody cares. And just by having that purse on their shoulder, they feel like, $1 million, because that's amazing to them, because nobody's done that for them before. They haven't been able to have something like that. So that is what that is about. So we take once loved handbags and the fill to go in the bags, and also donations with the donations, what we do is we buy the stuff to go in the bags. So some people will just donate the bags, and some people will just donate the stuff to go in the bags, and some will donate them together. But we do end up with purses, handbags that have no fill in them. So we will go out and get what's needed to fill that. And we do this all year long.
Wonderful. I know I did this a couple of years ago at Christmas. A local lady did that. It's the first I heard about it. So yeah, it's brilliant. I've actually got a couple of handbags that need to go to a new home. So I normally take them to the charity shop, but I shall look up the Helping Hands where there is one Helping Handbags where there is
Helping Handbags. Yes, because they're spread all over the United Kingdom. They're all over.
Marvelous. Well, thank you for spending time today, Cathlene. Again, it's always a delight to speak with you. And as I say, your book is absolutely superb. So it's called The 30-Day Self-Perception Makeover. So how do people get hold of a copy?
It's on Amazon, and Amazon UK, Amazon.com, Amazon FR, which is France. It's all over Amazon right now, and we're working on getting it into the bigger bookstores.
Marvellous. And it's under your name, Cathlene Miner. And remind the listeners how you spell your name, because it's different.
It is.
How we spell in the UK.
Cathlene is with a C, and it's different at the end. So it's CATHLENE, and Miner is MINER.
Okay, so CathleneMiner.com is your website.
Yes, and all the information is on there. Yes.
Marvelous. Okay. Just turning now to two songs. You've chosen, where are we? Best Day of My Life by Alex G. I'm not sure if I know that song or not. I think I do. I'm sure when I play it shortly, I'll remember. So why did you choose that one, Cathlene?
Because every day can be the best day of our life.
Yeah.
It can be, I mean, it's what we make of it. Not all days are going to be great, But if you have a day that's a down day, we know that there's tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. Fabulous. And the other one is Pennies by Cathlene Miner.
Yeah, and that one is, I like it because it's not about money. We hear so many people talk about, I'll be happy when I get this. You know, if I had this amount of money, I could do this. It's not about that at all. And it's all about what we feel and what we're putting out into this universe as to what we're getting back in. So this song just talks a bit about that. It's not about the money. I don't need the money. I do, however, just need peace and to feel confident and healthy.
Marvellous. Okay, well, those two songs are coming up shortly. Thank you very much, Cathlene, and the best of luck with promoting your book and going into schools, spreading the word about self-perception, a very, very worthy topic.
Thank you. Thank you.